Alright, so because of all of the kind of background noise and the fact that I think that it'll make the videos a lot better if I use my microphone, I'm gonna use my microphone this time. Today, I wanted to talk about gatekeep culture and the fact that everybody in our in the current internet space is really fragile, and everyone wants to point fingers at other people and call the other person a poser. So if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, I mean, people in different communities want to prevent other people from joining fandoms and like listening to music that they want to listen to, watching movies and videos they want to, and if you don't do something exactly correct, then people are gonna think that you're a poser. And if you don't listen to like 10 songs from this band or like 10 albums, an album that nobody has even heard of before that came out like the minute they became a band, and like if you haven't listened to every single song a band has came out with or something like that, then you're a poser. And I'm gonna split this up into a lot of different medias. I think that's our best way of going about this. So the first thing I kind of want to touch on is Letterboxd. Now, I really love Letterboxd. I'm a really big fan of Letterboxd. And as someone who has just kind of gotten into the act of watching movies, and like I'm not familiar with a whole bunch of the things that people decide are like classics, I'm kind of new to this. You know what I'm saying? So it's an even bigger problem for me. The thing with Letterboxd and the people who use it or have used it for years, when you haven't seen a specific film or you haven't seen everything that a director has ever made, including all of their short films or like 2-minute films that literally 3 people have rated, if you haven't seen this movie and this movie and this movie, or if you think that this popular film is your favorite, then you're a poser, essentially, and you're not a quote-unquote cinephile, and you're not researched, you're not based enough, and this inhibits people from wanting to branch out into other medias. People are so conceited and pretentious, and they fail to realize that the thing that holds media together as a whole is the community. People ostracize others and say that they're not this or they're not that, and that, oh, you can't join, like you're not a part of this exclusive club. So it discourages people from wanting to join or wanting to partake in this media device that needs a community. People think that since they have been here, you know, they're true to this or whatever, they've been here for a while and they've seen all of these popular films, and they've also seen really obscure ones, that they're like the messiah. You have to come to them to be able to like initiate yourself into this creative space, and that's just not the case. And it's ridiculous that people sit here and act like that it's true. It's extremely discouraging, really, honestly, just to try to get into a creative space and not being able to because other people are telling you that you're not supposed to be here. That's like you trying to join a club and then everybody in the club just pointing fingers at you and laughing and being like, oh, like talking behind your back or telling you to your face that you don't belong or something like that. It just makes you feel discouraged and you don't want to be there. You know what I'm saying? And then eventually that community falls apart because everybody starts picking on one another. And everybody's like, oh, you haven't watched this? Well then, you're like, you're not good enough for this club, get out. And then somebody else will point another finger and be like, oh, you haven't seen all of this director's films? Well then that means that you don't really know this director for real, or this isn't your favorite director, so get the fuck club. And then it just continues happening until there is no fucking club. You know what I mean? There are no people who watch these movies, and then everything goes to shit. And you wonder why. This can also apply to the fashion community too. There's always the people that think that if you don't own these expensive types of clothing, that you don't fit into a certain club, or if people who have a certain aesthetic, if you don't fit what they think of as their aesthetic, then you're different from them. And people like they gatekeep where they got their clothes from, and I mean, it's destructive to the community, really. The whole point of, like, especially back then, like in the 2000s or whatever, was that like everybody dressed uniquely and everybody shared where they got things from, and it was an entire constructive community that allowed people to branch out into other aesthetics and collaborate, honestly. And nowadays, people are just trying to confine themselves into one group, and if you don't fit into this group, get out, like you're not a part of the fashion community or something like that. And that's just not the case. I mean, we can also talk about music. The music community is the exact same way. If you haven't listened to every single album that this band has come out with, and if you haven't like been to 5 concerts for this artist, then you're not a fan, and that's just not the case. Oh, name 3 songs. Get the fuck out of my face. It's a constant repetition in the creative community to isolate those who don't seem to fit a specific quota. And I think that's a major problem, and it prohibits the spread of creativity and ideas and flow from different people, which is what helps these communities to thrive in the first place. There's no reason for us to be isolating people when they're first getting into things, because that just reinforces in their brain that anytime that they try something new, that they're not allowed to do so. And I think that's why it's such a big problem in every community, really, whether it be fitness or art or music or anything like that, where people don't want to try new things because they're just afraid of being ridiculed. They're afraid of being shunned out, and it just creates this it just creates this fear for people who are trying to join and try new things. I've always been scared to try new things, not just because of my internalized problem with being bad at something, but also the community and just like the social aspect of it, and thinking that I'm going to receive extreme criticism every time that I try to do something new. I also think that our generation has become a lot more fragile to everybody else's opinions because of people constantly bombarding them with what they think, and people go back and forth and they argue over and over and over again. Dude, I don't know how long my mic was unplugged. Okay, my mic cut out for like 3 minutes. I don't know. I kind of don't remember what I was talking about either. I think I was starting to discuss the fragility of our generation and how people start to think that others' opinions are their driving force for what they do. So I wanted to give like an example of this that I've seen. So I have this person that goes to my school that's friends with some of my friends, and they make TikTok videos sometimes. And they made a TikTok video about a band. I think they're called MGM or something. But hopefully like I'll be able to pull it up on my computer and put it on the screen or put it in the video or something like that.
There's a difference between being a teenager and rebelling and having fun and just being plain tacky and classless. Like, that's just like, ew.
It was like the audio was goofy, you know, but the message behind the video was real. And people in the comment section were like, oh, how are you gonna tell me what I can and can't listen to? Oh, like, you're so mean, like, da-da-da-da. Like, they were literally attacking them in the comment section. They were going back and forth with this person they've never met in their lives. I just want to tell you right now, you have never met this person before. You don't know this person. You're going into this person's TikTok comment section, a person you have never met, sitting there and telling them, oh, how are you going to sit here and tell me what I can and can't do? They can't. They can't tell you what you can and can't do. They don't know you. They're not your mom. Hello? They don't police you. You have free will. Okay, I didn't say this in the video, but I also think that this same principle can apply to like herd and sheep mindset, especially when it comes to our generation. I don't know if any of you remember, but back before school started, like in June, like late June, you know what I mean, early August, people were on TikTok making videos asking, oh, what backpacks
are we bringing for back to school, and what shoes are we getting, and what are our first day outfits gonna be? And it's like, dude, whatever you end up buying and wearing, like, why are you asking random people on the internet you're never gonna see what fucking shoes they're wearing when you have free will and your own personality? I would assume so. You have your own way of dressing. Why are you trying to be like everybody else? Nobody wants to be different anymore.
I've never understood that. It's such a big thing, I think, nowadays, especially with like TikTok. Somebody will say something and then somebody will disagree with it and be like, how are you gonna tell me what I can and can't do? How are you gonna police what I do and da da da? Like that's just not how that works. They can't. Turn your phone off and read a book. Get out of my face. Actually, I also saw an Instagram reel about a Virginia Woolf book. Alright, I'm definitely gonna put it up, in between the video, whatever, in between me talking.
I just finished this book, so let's do my book journal entry together. This is another one of my 1001 books, so a few extra steps. This is the 86th book I read this year, and I gave this book 1 star. Honestly, I tried so hard to give this book a fair chance, but yeah, I switched to audiobook probably within 10 pages of starting this book because I found it so hard to follow what was even happening. And I think, yeah, stylistically, Virginia Woolf is just not for me at all.
They're, like, if you look at their profile, that they read a lot, that they're very well read, that they really like reading, and so they might just, they just don't like, Virginia Woolf. So here they just say that they don't like this particular book and that they might not like Virginia Woolf's writing style. And then somebody in the comment section says Virginia getting a 1 but Bunny getting a 5 really exemplifies the decline of literature as a mainstream art form. Exemplifies the decline of literature as a mainstream art form. First off, people read all the time. There is no decline. Second off, this person's just saying that they don't like this book and that they like another book. And you're boiling it down to everybody in the world disliking literature all of a sudden. I just don't see how this argument is valid at all, being backed up by one person who doesn't like one book that you like. Get out of this person's comment section. Now you can sit here and you can talk about, oh, like, I respect your opinion, but this is why I liked the book. And that way you can have some sort of a constructive discussion with this person based on the things that you read in the book. I don't understand going into this person's comment section and then saying that they're not a very well-read individual or that there's a decline in literature as a mainstream art form just because this person said they didn't like a fucking book. Hello? Like, this is the same thing I was talking about with movies and fashion and music. Even in the reading community, if you haven't read specific books, if you haven't read like the classics and stuff like that, if you haven't really indulged yourself into like classic literature and you don't like every single book that you pick up, you're not a reader. Let me see some of the replies. Somebody said she's allowed to have her own personal opinions about books. It can't be objectively right or wrong. Period. Using Bunny as an example of declined literature is wild. It's definitely not everyone's cup of tea, but it's nowhere near a bad book. Also, just because Woolf's an amazing classic author doesn't mean everyone has to enjoy her writing. Ironically, her writing style, like Awad's in different ways. Awad's? I'm not sure how to say that. I apologize. Is also a particular one that some might not enjoy. And then this other person says, so if I don't like something that is supposed to be objectively right, I should pretend to. Anyway, isn't the point of books and art that it's subjective? So fundamentally, there is no right or wrong. I mean, yo. Somebody else says, a part of art is how it makes you feel. If everyone felt the same and liked the same art, it would be pretty boring. You shouldn't demean another person's opinion, but, discuss why you think the way that you do and give credit to the person for having an opinion at all. That's how a discussion goes. I think my main opinions on this are that people need to be more open, less narcissistic, less pretentious. People need to allow space for creativity and debate, and not harp on other people's opinions. People need to allow new comers into different cultures, and not immediately shun people for being new, so that it can create a basis for creativity in society and that everyone thinks that they're allowed to be creative. There's probably no way that our society will ever come to a point where everyone's 100% on the same page about what I just said. But I think that talking about it in a video that I'm putting on the internet will at least help a small sum of people change their minds about how they act. Alright, we're done. Ugh.